Time for round three, and let's start right in with another interesting thing about brainwashing is that especially when one, you think morality is on your side, and two, you think science is on your side, people get incredibly self-righteous and incredibly sanctimonious about smoking. Now, it's a little more subtle than that, but I just want to give a quick little vignette about how bad it can be. And this was some years ago. I was at a party. Somebody came up to me and said, could I please have a cigarette? And I said, well, of course. I wouldn't think of seeing a fellow Nicopariah suffer. And he said, well, I really feel guilty. And I said, let me explain to you why you shouldn't feel guilty. And he wouldn't stay and listen. It was that bad even 10 years or so ago. Well, okay. Why is this? Let me see if we can think it through. It isn't just feeling morally superior, because there's also now this business with all the fuss and bother about secondhand smoke, the sense that you yourself are threatened. Smoking kills, brainwashing rules. People, whether they are conscious of it or not, have started to believe that secondhand smoke is going to be really injurious to them. Well, I don't think so. And let's take a look at a couple of really interesting newspaper articles of all things. This is some years ago in the States, and not even all that recent in once Great Britain. But in 1994, Robert Shear, a rather witty columnist, had a piece in the Los Angeles Times. I won't waste the time about that pretentious waste of trees, but anyway. And he called it EPA blows smoke on the risks of secondhand smoke. And what he pointed out, and I've seen other confirmations of this, but he put it just so nicely. Basically, they had 30 previous studies. They didn't consider 20 of them because they didn't reach the conclusions they wanted. They copped a plea. Oh, well, they weren't done in the United States. They took the remaining 10 or so, lumped them together in a statistically inappropriate fashion. Are you listening, Professor Finch? Lowered the statistical degree of confidence in order to make a claim that 3,000 deaths a year were attributable to secondhand smoke in the entire country. And what's fascinating is that within 6 months or a year, the California Department of Health Services was running commercials about 53,000 deaths and making it sound like it was California alone. What's also fascinating is that the National Cancer Institute had a negative study about the effects of secondhand smoke that came out while the EPA was cooking up their report, which they didn't take into account either. So that's got to cast some doubt on it. And then a number of years later, and I forget exactly, I could look it up, but it doesn't matter, the electronic version of the Daily Telegraph of London had an article about how the World Health Organization, my favorite persecutors, the latter-day Holy Office of the Inquisition, had commissioned a major study to finally lay to rest all this business about secondhand smoke. And it didn't reach the conclusion they wanted, and they suppressed it. And you can find plinkables, as I call them, to both those articles on my personal webpage or on the Google page that I had on the message, the after title on round 2. But the point is, you don't have to fear for your life if I'm smoking. especially if it's outdoors. I mean, the real lunacy is these towns that are saying you can't even smoke outdoors. This is just mindless persecution, and